Welcome back to the Weekly News Roundup. This is the business edition, and we will end this section also with Sillyville. So strap on a helmet and maybe grab a funky hat, because it's going to get strange around here by the end. But anyway, if you want to catch these live, they are at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Fridays. Go ahead and catch us live there. And we will go ahead and jump on in with the business news. The Uber drivers, this is an update. Last week we saw that Uber was pushing out push notifications telling their drivers to vote no for Proposition 22, which seems to run afoul of state and federal laws regarding coercion in voting. This has been a thing on all political angles. We're getting a lot of this on the Democrat side. I got something in the mail today that was, not from any supported candidate. It was clearly funded by a Democratic Party thing. It's like, Joe Biden's going to do all these great things. Source, joebiden.com, joebiden.com. Trump's going to kill America. Source, Reuters, New York Times, NBC Today. Like, okay. If you're going to go with one candidate's campaign website, why don't you go the other ones too? I don't know. Of course, there's a more right-leaning trailer park, and I forget exactly where this one was. They told everybody, hey, we're not telling you how to vote, but if you vote for Biden, your rents are going to double. Like, okay, that's totally illegal, dude. All right, so you can't be trying to coerce people with how to vote if you hold any form of power over them. This includes having a job and money, where you live, stuff like that. So last week we talked about that story. This week it turns out that a bunch of Uber drivers have gotten together and sued Uber for the constant barrage pushing the anti-employment initiative, which they have actually deemed as voter meddling. And so now Uber, among their other list of things that they have done, they are now being sued by a group of people for violating the election meddling laws. And definitely interesting. I'm going to be following this story to see where it happens to take us. Yeah, yes to 22. Drivers deserve better. Join 72% of drivers and delivery people who want to protect app-based work. But on our unofficial poll where Guido held wrenches to their knees and said, vote yes or I'm taking your kneecaps out, buddy. So since we've changed our wording, because, that means, we were actually doing things illegal. We've changed our wording to fall just this side of the line of legalities. And so a bunch of guys got together to sue him. We'll see what happens with that down the road. All right. So Microsoft is now automatically installing Office PWAs for some Windows 10 users. If you watched my Microsoft Edge browser video this week, you know that Edge has the ability to create PWAs out of individual websites, which is kind of a cool feature if you want it. The problem is Windows is like, hey, guess what? We're going to add a bunch of PWAs. And you could still manually add them with Edge, but they're like, oh no, we're just going to go ahead and add them. So all that bloatware crap you got off, now it's going to start adding web versions of Candy Crush. Now, after a lot of backlash to this particular story, the next day they came and said, well, sorry. No, excuse me. It was a bug that was doing that. Sure, it was a bug. All right, guys, here's a thought. Why don't you rehire the QA team that you laid off so you don't have constant bugs? Or option B, have a little bit of integrity, a little bit of transparency, and stop blaming. Please, people, stop blaming bugs for crap you're trying to push on people, because that's exactly what was happening. It was very clearly an update. It followed all the basic things of updates. And yeah, they did come out and said, oh, we're sorry, we won't do that anymore. And so they decided not to. All right, so Tesla's back in the news. Of course, was it last week, 2 weeks ago, where we had the convertible Tesla, or the roof flies off? That reminds me of that George Carlin skit, right? And in an unexpected cabin pressure, roof flies off. Some experience that on Tesla, right? Roof flies off, shatters all over the road. Well, now Tesla weakens its 4-year used policy warranty after scrapping its 7-day return policy. So for a long time, they really fed on this 7-day return policy so that basically people could get in here and if you didn't like your car within the first 7 days, you could take it back, get a full refund, no questions asked. Well, they dropped that this week, and then they dropped their warranties back to almost nothing. So the advantage is they've dropped it down to like a year or it's either 1 year or 2 years, depending on the age of the car. But if there's still a factory warranty, it tacks on to the end of that if you buy a used car. So if somebody buys a brand new Tesla, they get rid of it after 2 years. There's still 2 years left of a warranty. You get an additional 1 year left on the warranty. So then you will have a total of 3 years of the warranty. They used to have an automatic 4-year warranty on any used cars. They got rid of that. All these were just, it was just costing Tesla too much money. So we didn't want to do any of that kind of stuff. So anyway, that came just in time because now Tesla admits a design flaw was leading to rear bumpers simply falling off when they found puddles of water. Guys, when water destroys your electric car's bumper, this does not bode well. What type of waterproofing does this thing have? Am I going to be concerned? Am I going to be concerned about the Tesla's bumper falling off? Like, what's going to happen to the battery compartment if water gets anywhere near there? Am I going to see a lithium-ion explosion? So yeah, hopefully that your vehicle falls off, your bumper falls off in the rain a little bit before this. I guess maybe don't follow a Tesla in the rain. Not good. I'm up here in the Northeast. We got a lot of rain up here, but I don't know. Twitch starts sending out vague, unhelpful DMCA takedown emails, actually taking stuff down, not telling people what the problem is, and not allowing for the due process of the law to challenge any takedowns. Basically, violating the law, actually. I don't know if it's violating the law, technically. There's DMCA law that if somebody makes a claim, you have to be able to make a counterclaim or defend yourself. So I think this is actually violating the law. But a whole lot of streamers are finding out that their own videos, everything that's all theirs is just taken down for copyright. And nobody actually has any reason as to why. And so that's definitely an interesting thing. This guy, Lowcow, he says, here's the problem. They're not telling you what or when it takes place, what it's for, and they're not giving you an option to counterclaim. So the fact that they're not even giving you the option to review it, this is inappropriate. They're giving you one warning, and for what? What are you warning me for? Just tell me. It's kind of like the rest of big tech. You're violating our policies. Which policy? Your policies. Read our terms of service. Screw you. I read your terms of service, and I completely certify this is within terms of service. So, I don't know. There's more reasons why I really just don't want to mess around on Twitch. I don't know. Should I mess around on Twitch? Should I not mess around on Twitch? I don't know. I don't know. You Minecraft players out there, Minecraft will require a Microsoft account to play in 2021. Of course, Oculus will require a Facebook account. We covered that a few weeks ago. So owners of the classic version will be forced to migrate. So if you got the old classic version, hey, you got to move to the new version, and the new version requires a Microsoft account. Yay! Isn't it just like Microsoft to require you to log in with their dystopian data collecting crap to play a video game? But they've gotten us all addicted to it, like the drug dealers getting us all addicted to their crack and then jacking up the price once we can't say no anymore. And that's really what's going on with Minecraft and Windows. So, hey, good news, right? You can still play it. You can still play it. And on to our final story today, what we know about DOJ's antitrust case against Google. This is actually an interesting story because part of this I look at it and I kind of agree with. And part of this, I'm really kind of on Google's side in some of this. So where's the part of it that I can understand in antitrust? Well, Google does go pretty far, and they do make it kind of hard to find other alternatives. But the fact of the matter is, even before I actually open up my eyes to what's going on, when I was still a sheeple, using Windows, doing all of the normie type stuff, had the smartphone, didn't think twice about all these accounts, even then, I started using alternatives to Google and turning Google off in some cases. So I don't buy that it's completely antitrust. Now, the antitrust, though, is not geared towards us as consumers. It's geared towards competitors. How can competitors get in and compete? Can they? I honestly argue they can. I mean, Startpage does, DuckDuckGo does. Now, this thing in the EU where there's now a raffle to when you set up a new Android phone, they have to give you the choice of your search provider. The biggest downside of that is that it's a raffle system. So basically, it's Google and the 3 highest bidders to Google get placed in that list to choose from. So a company like DuckDuckGo, who does not profit off of their search very much, they can't possibly compete, so nobody will hear about DuckDuckGo because it's never going to be an option. And so those are the things that I can understand in antitrust case. On the flip side of the coin, I have the choice when and where to use Google. Now, is it easy to not use Google? It's not. But I do have the choices. You know, we just switched to a Jitsi server instead of using Google Hangouts for our supporter streams. That's all self-hosted on my platform. Can anybody do that? Honestly, head on over to Linode, get yourself an account, and click the button that says set up a Jitsi server. Yes, anyone can do that. Maybe you might need to consult the help documents to figure out how to point the domain to it. I mean, I'll give you that. But the fact is, I don't use Google outside of this YouTube channel and the other YouTube channels I have. I do not use Google for my personal life. I don't have it on my phone. I don't use it as a search engine. It's easy to get away from Google. Now, again, I'm not a competitor to Google, but I do have to think about this. As I'm redesigning the Switch to Linux website, I do want to go independent of Google on that site because that's what we're doing. Other properties, eventually I will get there. But now I'm looking at this going, you know, the Switch to Linux site does make me some ad revenue. Is there an ad revenue place I can get to push ads on the site that's not Google, that's not going to fill malware when you visit my site? Honestly, I don't know. I haven't investigated it. I'm sure there's a couple places out there. I thought, maybe I'll just drop ads altogether and do affiliate links as ads in place so I can control things a little bit better. That's an option. So we can look at that type of stuff. The reality of it all, though, is I think overall, it's easy to get away from Google from a consumer. You can. Maybe it's not easy, but you can. So should we break it up? Should we destroy it? I'm inclined to say no. Maybe regulate a little bit more? Let's look at the other side of the coin. Sure, you get an Android phone and it pushes a bunch of Google apps on you. You know that the Google devices are the best phones to get if you want a custom ROM, right? Yeah, they're the best phones to get. Why? Because they don't force you to use their software. You can wipe it out. You can put Lineage on. You can put an ungoogled stuff on there. You can not install the Google apps. You can install MicroG instead. You can go without. All on Google phones because they don't lock you down into serious anti-competitive behavior. Now, as we look into this, though, again, it's not geared towards the consumer. This is geared towards the competitor. And that plays itself a little difference. So Google pays billions each year to distributors, including manufacturers, Apple, Motorola, Samsung, U.S. carriers such as AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, and browser developers such as Mozilla, Opera, UC Web, to secure default status in its general search engine, in many cases to specifically prohibit Google's counterparties from dealing with Google's competitors. I don't disagree with the bottom part of that. Sure, they do pay a lot to be there. I mean, Google itself is responsible for something like half of Mozilla's revenue comes from Google directly. So basically, they fund Google. I got news for you guys. The reason Apple computers still exist is because Microsoft bailed them out. There's a thought. But are they prohibiting you? Are they prohibiting me from opening up Firefox and changing the default from Google to start page? Of course not. So I disagree with the second part of that statement. Some of these arguments also require distributors to take bundle of Google apps, and that's maybe a problem, including search apps, and feature them on the device in prime positions. Sure. Again, though, as the consumer, you have the choice. That's kind of where I'm going. So I don't want to be super hard on Google. I get that there's some issues and some challenges. I get that we need to look at them and figure out what we need to do. But I don't think that this whole completely we got to destroy Google, because there's a lot good that they do as well. And we can't deny that. We can't deny that. Well, that's for the business section, but I do want to talk about some affiliates. Now, I was going to use one of my different affiliate accounts, but today I'm actually just going to talk about this. If you need a web design, a website maintainer, just somebody to do edits in your site, keep an eye on things, make sure everything's up to date. I've been doing this for over a decade, and I have a story about why I decided to put my own site here. So I do primarily, I'm a WordPress expert and a Joomla expert and a server expert. Mostly those are the areas I do. I work primarily in small business environments, mostly helping very small organizations maintain their web technologies without requiring a retainer fee. So I do a straight hourly. You can keep me in the back pocket and bring me on board every 3 months if you need something updated or checked or redesigned or fixed or, you know, compatibility tested, things like that. So you can head on over to westernmountainweb.com. It's westernmtnweb.com. Use the contact form over here and use the contact form, and you can go ahead and let me know the services you're interested in. And look at that. I got the evil Google reCAPTCHA over there, so I don't get totally inundated with spam. But have a look over there, and if you are needing help with any website stuff. Now, the reason I want to talk about this, kind of ad part ended here. The reason I want to talk about this today is because things are slow with everybody with the global pandemic that they're forcing everybody out of work and stuff. In some places, not everywhere. But with this, my revenues dropped a little bit. I said, well, let's go ahead and start looking at some of these sites. Because I used to be huge on Elance when Elance was a thing. I had a huge profile. I was making $30,000 a year, I think, on Elance back in the day. And they merged, of course, with Odec to produce Upwork, that is. And so it's like most of us guys from Elance, the Odec guys loved Upwork, the Elance guys hated it. Because Elance was quality, it was classy. And they merged that over, and I said, you know what? Let me go ahead and have a look at that again. So I decided I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I created an account maybe about 2-3 months ago. I think it was early August, if I remember correctly. Burned through applying for different jobs with the free amount of credits that they give you. Of course, they don't give you free credits every month like Elance did because, hey, you got to pay if you want any more credits. No way around that. So I said, well, let's go ahead and give this a try. We're going to prime the pump. We're going to throw a couple bucks into this. For 2 months and see if I get any jobs. Well, I did that, and then I started applying for more jobs under a more paid account. And I ended up getting 2 jobs right away. And I started working with those. And then now that we're several hours into a project, I get an email, hey, you need to verify your identity to complete your account creation. 6 weeks into it, and we're already starting work, and I've handed you money, and now they want me to send them a copy of my government ID? That's not happening, Bubba. That's not happening at all. So I said to him, no, this is never part of it. I said the appropriate time to ask for that, if you're going to ask for it, is on the account creation phase. Well, you know, they didn't have an answer for that. Of course, you know, Patriot Act stuff. So I looked into all the Patriot Act. No, that applies to banks, kind sir. You're not a bank. And so I basically said, you know what? Just delete the account. No, I won't do that. And so I ditched a bunch of work. So I decided instead of my usual affiliates, I'm going to go ahead and bring your attention to that. That is actually my day job. I do web design. I've been doing it for about a decade. I've been using WordPress since version 1. I think Joomla since version 2, I think. Like 2.0, I think, is when I did the first Joomla stuff. And of course, I do a lot of stuff with servers. So if you are in need of a site, go ahead and have a look over there and reach out to me, and I will get you a free quote on whatever you happen to need. Well, let's go ahead and head on over to Sillyville from here. So, what more can you say? 7 people have been arrested in connection with an elaborate scheme to traffic flying squirrels out of the United States. Hey, it's 2020. Anything goes, right? So apparently people really like flying squirrels. So these guys, if you've never seen a flying squirrel, basically it's just a squirrel, but they've got basically webbing from their arms to their legs. So when they jump out of trees, they can spread wide and be like Batman coasting on through the air for quite a while. And get some good distance too. Lean up, man. You got the flaps. They can actually go up. I mean, that's good stuff. They're just like, whee, you know. So apparently these are a big deal because 7 people were caught trapping and hiding and deploying the flying squirrels out of town. No word if they were trying to smuggle them out via the Smuggler's Cove. Yeah, 7 people arrested with an elaborate scheme to traffic flying squirrels out of the U.S. It would be totally epic if they're using these things and training them to do drug runs into prisons. Whee! You know, flying squirrels being launched off the drone, aiming for the specific guy that's calling for it. I don't know, kind of crazy. Oh, this was last week's news. It came out on Friday, so I missed it, but it was just too good not to include. A virtual profanity filter bans the word bone at a paleontology conference. So, I mean, if you're unfamiliar with paleontology, it is the study of dead things. So the word bone does come up quite a bit. Also, they banned stream. I don't know why they banned stream. I don't know, like, maybe my mind just doesn't have the X-ratedness that it should to comprehend why stream is an offensive thing that should be banned. But it also banned beaver, okay, iffy, and stroke. Well, that CNN analyst knows all about stroke and web conferences. All I'm saying about that. But anyway, somebody had a glorious things. Bone, sexual, and hell. Pubic was also banned, which, you know, the pubic bones are actually bones. They're the most common type of bones you find. So there was a beautiful quote. I'm not sure if it was in this article. See, I became disturbed when I saw the crowdsourced list of banned words included wang. I personally know several vertebrate paleontologists with the surname Wang. So, yeah. Let's see. My personal favorite was Heck Creek for Hell Creek. There you go. Bone, sexual, and hell were censored to users. Later, they used the important site at Hell Creek, so they couldn't say Hell Creek, so they changed it to Heck Creek. Is this going to be like the scientists being forced to change the genome nomenclature because Excel doesn't know how to deal with them? Oh, joy. This is getting backwards. All right, well, we got to get up. We got to leave this planet and go to the moon. Fortunately, Nokia has us covered because they are going to invest in a 4G network on the moon. For all of the people up there on the moon needing 4G cell phones. So Nokia is working on 4G cell phones. I think their plan is ultimately to build 5G, but they said we're going to start with 4G. Just to get it going there. So, absolutely. I mean, if I could, though, wake up with this as my scenery, though, I'm sure. It sounds kind of fun. Sounds neat. So, Acer teamed up with Porche. I don't know what Acer and Porche have in common. I mean, Acer's not exactly the high-end computers. And then you get Porche. So, they're teaming up to build sleek, high-class notebooks. $1,400, and I was trying to find specs. The article was kind of loose on the specs. Basically, all we get is square laptops with what looks like speaker coverings. They just look like boring laptops to me. I don't see. This mouse is atrocious. Look at this mouse. Does that mouse trigger anybody's OCD? Like, I'm not OCD, and that mouse messes me up. Get the Porche box there. So here's what the top of the laptop looks like. Here's the mouse. I guess we have a Porche mouse pad. And I think this is actually part of, like, the premium design travel pack or something with a bunch of stuff. So I don't know what Porche and Acer are doing together, but other than building overpriced computers because they're putting speaker coverings on it, I guess. I don't know. Well, we have a couple gamer news items for you guys. You PS4 guys, Sony now has a Black Lives Matter PS4 theme for you. Show your support for Black Lives Matter. At least if you play the PS4 with your themes, you're not out burning a city down. So I can support this. As long as it keeps the thugs inside playing PS4 rather than throwing a brick through somebody else's window, I'm all for it. But yes, Sony now has a free Black Lives Matter PS4 theme. Look at that, baby. Look at that. That is epic. So here's what we get. Look at that. Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. Black Lives Matter. Yeah. And KFC's been doing weird stuff lately. Their latest is a KFC edition Xbox controllers. So you can go PS4 Black Lives Matter or Xbox KFC. Okay. So whatever. I mean, when I think of, when I had the kids over on Friday nights and we played a lot of video games, we never thought to order KFC. It was always pizza. But anyway, you can get this this new limited edition KFC XBox controller. Just has finger licking good and a horribly atrocious theme on top of it there. What do you guys think? Is this a cool thing? Should I buy KFC tomorrow? Now I'm making me hungry for chicken. Look at that. So there's our Sillyville articles. If you want to help support the channel, have a look over on Subscribestar. Subscribestar.com/switched-to-Linux. You can help us out on over there. And we're also on Patreon and Think Life Media as well. So anyway, there is our news for the night. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.
Thank you for watching this video from Switched to Linux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.